the portfolio sale option.
Yeah.
So if you can say a little bit about this, because I think the usual perception is, say someone has a portfolio of 10 properties.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll present each one separately. There's this perception that they have to present it separately and individually. So I don't know if you can just say a little bit more about options with groups of properties.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. So, I mean, it'll come down to the seller's circumstances more than anything. One of the biggest questions we ever have when we're discussing portfolios is, once if I just get left with one, if I'm selling them individually, it's like, once if I get left with one and I don't want it, that's sort of the biggest thing. And that's where selling them as a portfolio can sort of alleviate that. The only problem with portfolio sales is that the market of which the buyer's market is smaller, because we're basically looking for someone that has, I don't know, let's say 10 at £500,000 maybe. So it's sort of, I think it's easier to find 10 individuals at 50,000 opposed to one at 500.
Yeah.
However, if your circumstances are, look, I just want to shop everything, then we can look at that. The other options we have is we can break it down. So we'll use the 10 again. We can, between Andrew, our team, even me if need be, we can work out if we can pair up certain types of properties. So we might put the best one, i.e. the one that's maybe the best return or the best condition, and we sell that alongside maybe the worst one to sort of average them out. And we try and create an average sort of type of property sale. And obviously by trying to sell 2 is easier again than selling 10. So that could be an advantage, something we can look at. Those are different options we can look at to try and achieve the best result for any seller. Yeah. If that kind of helps.
Think, it is, yeah. I think a big one that we get quite often is, this portfolio. So someone has this theoretical portfolio of 10, and I think most investors have their bottom 2, don't they? And my portfolio isn't immune to this. You have the 2 that you think probably I should never have bought. They're not great investments. They've not done well, and they're not worth what they need to be. And I think there's this interesting angle about, because you're right, people then worry the strong stuff will go and I'll be left with the weak stuff. And I think there's this interesting angle about, well, actually, if you've got 2 bad ones, maybe pair. Does that make sense? Maybe pair each of those 2 separate ones, even in groups of 2s, but with something strong that is more appealing.
Yeah. And I mean, it's still difficult to try and find a buyer that's willing to take on that weak investment, as we'll call it. But if you can balance it against a good one and say, look, we're getting this one as well, and sort of work with it, then there's things we can do. But it just depends on the seller's circumstances to how we approach that. I would never say that like selling them individually is always better or selling as a group is always better. It does just depend on the seller's circumstances, how quick they need to sell them all, how much room they have. Are they mortgaged up to the hills and they don't have much scope? So do we need to look at that as well and try and proposition it to benefit that? So there's loads of different things that we need to take into consideration when we're discussing portfolios, but we have had a lot of success with them as well. So it's something.
And I take it this could be a mechanism for, I know we had clients where, so they have a property in negative equity.
Yeah.
We'll say, right, we don't have the funds to hand. Does that make sense to complete on that property because we need to put money in, but they might have equity in another property?
Yeah.
So I guess legally there's that prospect, isn't there, of creating a block of 2. So the equity release sort of pays off the negative on the same.
Yeah, I mean, what we've done as well in the past is it's easier if it's all the same lender, because then we will go to the lender and say, look, Mr. X is selling this property. This one's looks like this one's going to be in negative equity. This one's got equity in it. We might sell that one first, but we'll aim to sell that one as well. And we'll have that chats with the lenders about it to see what we can do to get the deal done as well. So it's another thing our team will and have done. We have a big portfolio up in the northeast where we are doing that. And I mean, it's a task, but it helps the client at the end of the day. So we're willing to go that extra mile.
I think the reason I raise it, I do think there'll be a lot of landlord clients in general, not just AMRPs, but in general. I think
Yeah.
most landlords I know have that at least one property in their portfolio.
Yeah. Probably it's usually the first one, isn't it? The first buy. Usually that one.
And I'm not genuinely not immune from it, because I have properties that you think, that wasn't a great investment, and they're not now worth what you would like or what they need to be. So I do think this probably is a massive problem for a number of landlords, and they probably do feel they're stuck, and they probably don't want to have to try and find the cash to clear that mortgage to release that property. So I do think it's a really interesting solution, like you say, if there's property or properties elsewhere that have equity that can cover, to bring them, in effect, to bring them together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and I'm guilty of that as well, by the way, Andrew. Our first investment is the worst buy I've probably ever going to make in my life, and I'm regretting it every day, but it's one of them things, isn't it?
I don't think I know many investors. There's not many investors who say everything was gold. Just that makes it, whether the areas had problems or what. Most people would say that there are some, there's some element of their portfolio that has problems.
Yeah, definitely.